Minasan konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Welcome everyone to Musings from Japan number 21.
21.
21 for the Japanese.
That's right.
Okay.
Musings from Japan number 21.
And to start off our musings, we have a very, 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 very special guest today. And I will introduce it this way. Greg, as most of you know, is my oldest friend, especially from America. I have two in America I've known about the same amount of time. But Greg, since he lives here in Japan, I keep in constant contact. So he's considered right now my oldest friend. But today we're going to feature my second oldest friend in the world, and Mr. Arumando Suhara. Hey, Armand, can you give us a quick introduction, a Jiko Shokai?
All right. I'm male and human.
There we go. Thank you very much. A little
I thought you didn't know that.
Making sure.
54. I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. I came to Japan in 1986 with the U.S. Army. I've been here since then.
Thank you for your service.
Wasn't anything. And then I went to college here. Yes, went to college here, and I've been teaching English as a foreign language since '89.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
Yeah, and I met you in 92 or 93?
Something like that.
93, I think we met because we worked together, actually, in Eikaiwa, which is a foreign English language school in beautiful downtown Niigata.
That's right.
Anyway, and we have lots of different stories. I have lots of stories about Armando that maybe Greg doesn't know and nobody else.
Some of them are top secret.
They're top secret. Actually,
if he told you he'd have to kill you.
I have to kill. Yeah, would have to burn this before I even publish it. So, but there's always one great one. I wish I could tell it, but I can't. I know I can't tell that story. Anyway,
I don't even know. I don't even know what that is. But
I know. After we'll talk
about the bicycle.
Yeah, I could
about the bicycle.
I don't care about that. Go ahead. You can talk about that.
Okay, well, let's put it this way. I think the event was it a
welcoming party
for you, isn't it?
Me and a couple other teachers.
Yeah, there was at the Eikaiwa.
This is while I was still in English conversation school.
Yeah, in Niigata. This is where I first met Armand. We went to a little. We had a welcoming party for the new staff, and I was just a year into that school, and Armand came and to work on the staff, and in Japan, when we have welcoming parties, you go out to a club or something and you eat food, you drink a lot of beer, and you're pouring beer for people because you want to get to know them and you get them really drunk to see what happens. Basically that's what usually happens. But anyway, we had the
it's a trap. It's a trap.
We got the fish hook. So anyway, we went to this party, and usually a party is about 2 hours. It's usually a set meal plan. You pay a certain amount, 2 hours. But then in Japan, there's a tradition of what they call nijikai, or a second party. Mm-hmm. So we went to a second party. And Armand, I convinced him. And Armand, I'll preface it, and if it's okay, he's not a big drinker. It wasn't at the time. And
drink a little bit now, but before, right away knocks me out.
Yeah, it's so. But I convinced him anyway. Come on, it'll be fun. Just hang out. We just talk some more. And we went to some sort of club that was owned by a gaijin, I think a foreigner.
I don't know. Too long ago for me.
Okay, I think I kind of remember that because I had been there.
I remember what the room looks like, but that's all.
Okay, well, anyway, so we're going there and we're drinking. I think we had kamikazes.
I don't know that.
This was the drink. Greg, you ever had a kamikaze?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, a kamikaze for our American Californians.
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
It's pretty strong. So and I convinced Armand to have a couple with me, and
I don't remember that. Must have been kind of drunk already.
Well, we were kind of drunk when we got there. They had little snacks and we were drinking kamikazes. Anyway, so we're going home. Okay, we're done. We paid the money and Armand was riding his bicycle home because he lived very close to the school area. So he's going to ride his bicycle home. And I said, "Oh man, you can't ride the bike. So let's call the taxi. I got to take the bike home, man. I can't leave it here. I got to take it home." Come on. "Oh, okay." And I remember, the last thing I remember, Mark, he was going down the street, and I'm watching him. And oh my God, he's going to fall in the ditch. I was thinking it was going to hit the house, hit the pole, hit the car. But no, you made it down the street and turned the corner. And it's like that. I was amazed. I was totally impressed by that, by that skill. So
I don't remember anything.
You made it. You made it.
He made it home, made it home, and made it work the next day. So obviously, and he's here,
right. And now the cops are knocking at my door because, it's illegal to drive your bike while drunk.
Yeah.
In Japan.
Yeah. Well, we're out of jurisdiction, so it's okay. Anyway, but that was impressive.
This is all names have been changed to protect
the innocent,
the guilty.
Oh, in this case. So anyway, but Armand is an English teacher, as we all are, and
Yes.
We've had about the same amount of experience, Armand and I, because you came to Niigata to work, and that was the first time to teach English?
No, I was teaching while I was in school in Tokyo, but that was, obviously not professionally as a full-time job. It was just part-time. Since 89, from 89 until when I met you, and then
Okay.
Then it was a full-time job. So
let me ask you then, since what we did then into now, how have you seen the changes of English teaching in Japan? Because we came here, we were in the bubble time, and I don't know if Greg, the bubble era of Japan.
Yes.
Just the economy was booming. That's in America. We had the hate Japan thing on the West Coast, especially, because a lot of investors had bought a lot of property in California,
real estate and everything like that.
Real estate, but I came here just at the end of the bubble. I guess a year after I was here, the bubble kind of burst, and I've been living in this economic depression ever since. But but at least in my experience, what I've seen in English language teaching, it's completely changed the whole approach. And the purpose of teaching English has changed. Have you seen that, Armand? Have you seen?
Actually, to be honest with you, I've been doing so many different things. Each time I go somewhere different, I have to teach a different group of students. So I haven't really watched the same type of students for that many years. Lower level, upper level, really advanced students, and it's all been for a few years at a time. So and at different schools, because I moved a couple times. So
right.
I mean, since the students have more experience with English from elementary school and so on now, I think so you a little bit better prepared, but not right. It's not a huge difference.
Really? Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess you're right, because moving to different areas, because I started in Hyogo, and from Hyogo to Niigata has been a very big difference. But working from the high school, elementary level that I did, and then working in the college level, the vocational college level, I see students as more prepared now. Yeah, I mean that was because they're not.
You have upper advanced level students, so that I think that has something to do with it.
Yeah, so, but also, the attitude that I'm looking at, the attitude is I just remember being at Hyogo, living in a small town and of 10,000 people and being the only foreigner there, and having people just freak out when they saw me.
Oh yeah, that was maybe not related to English teaching, but yeah, that was true even in Niigata when I first live there.
Yeah.
People kind of avoided any kind of sitting next to you, things like that. If you talk to them, they assume that you couldn't speak Japanese.
And that's still that's still the case often.
Really?
Yeah. It's still the case.
Yeah,
not so much here, but if I went, a lot of people in Niigata, this is what I'm talking about is, more than 12 years ago. A lot of people would ask me these typical questions like, can you eat fermented beans, natto, can you use, I know a lot of foreigners who do this. Do you do this too? This kind of stereotypical questions were the main main topic of their conversation, and so they probably didn't have very many opportunities to talk to foreign people. But I don't notice that. I noticed that even in Tokyo, but not here where I live in Osaka.
No, you know what? Even in my time here in Japan, I've noticed that they don't ask you if you can eat natto anymore. Typically, that's not but that was a question that I'd been asked earlier, actually. Or can you use chopsticks?
Can you eat raw fish? Kind of things like that. A lot of people in Kansai don't even like natto, so.
I remember that was when I came to Niigata, they assumed that I didn't like natto, because in the Kansai, I remember they had natto in the school lunch, because I ate school lunch with the kids. They had natto, and then I ate it, and people looked at me and said, "Are you okay? Is that okay?" And a lot of students wouldn't eat it, and and I remember at one time the students would give me their natto, and I would like pile it up, like, and they were freaking out because I would, look at the guys eating the natto. Yeah, that's kind of. Natto is fermented beans for those who are watching this, and they smell and they're sticky and they're stringy, and for me they're delicious. So I love natto. I have my own natto recipes now.
What I was found interesting is in the schools recently, within the past couple of years, I had natto at least on more than one occasion, and not often, but I had it because I worked in the schools. The natto that they served didn't have much of an odor.
Yeah,
it was very weak odor actually, and the taste was fine.
Well, that's good. So okay. Let's get off the academic shit.
Well, we're not talking about really English teaching. We were talking about attitudes towards foreign people, but.
That's good.
That's I think it's depending on the place and depending on what era you're in.
Yeah,
and
now what's
issues?
Just to give a little background. I mean, right now, those who are watching this, we're looking at 3 different regions of Japan that are being represented here. Armando is in the Kansai, the Osaka, the Kyoto area. Greg is in the Nagoya, the Chubu area, and I'm up here in Niigata, the snow country area right now. And right now, the temperature here, where I'm at in beautiful Shibata, is a grand total. Wait a minute, I'm looking on my phone. I turned it off. Is balmy -2.
To Fahrenheit?
-2 Celsius.
Oh, Celsius. Okay.
-2.
So I haven't used Fahrenheit.
My temperature's 3.
Greg will tell you he's a Fahrenheit guy.
In fact, I've still got snow predicted. We had snow flurries earlier, and it looks like we could have snow flurries any moment, really.
What's the temperature, Griggy?
6 degrees over here, but I'm sorry.
So it's currently 3 in Okazaki in southern Aichi prefecture.
So Armand is that you can tell he's in a nice t-shirt and a flannel shirt.
I'm not outside, but
you have a heater on.
Yeah, it's not going to snow here.
Oh,
I doubt it. If it does, it's like powdered sugar and.
Ooh, good! You can put your tongue.
Right. I mean, it's so little.
That was ours today.
Nothing like.
Just a little while ago.
This coming back from shopping today, I did the first shoveling of this year. I shoveled my sidewalk out to the street, getting prepared for the heavy snow because tonight it's supposed to dump tonight here.
Right.
And
I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore.
It's been a long time. I was actually winded because last year I didn't shovel at all because there was no snow. Thank you, global warming. No, I'm sorry, I don't want to say that. No, just I didn't have to shovel snow last year. So, but this year I had to. I bought a shovel and I've already used it. I broke it in, so I'm ready. I'm warmed up, stretched, got the back muscles used to bending over and picking up snow. So. Okay, let's go on some other things. So, I want to ask Armando a personal question.
Uh-oh.
Well, so what do you like to do in your free time? let's get down. You know, everyone knows that Greg and we're musicians. You know, I got my trombone back here, and I was practicing this morning. You know, and Greg and I always talk about music, but Armand, hey, dude, what do you do, man? In your free time.
Well, now with the virus, I don't really get to do what I like to do, but it's traveling around in Japan.
Yeah, that's great.
Also, I like to stay home and watch movies and listen to music. I can't play anything, but I am very interested in music. And
what kind of music? Because everyone knows that
lots of different things, especially jazz, but also anything from Baroque, classical to heavy metal, anything.
Hey,
that's a different thing.
But what I like
Pop music.
What I like about you, Armand, is that you like pipe organ music.
That's right. That's true.
Oh, great,
man! I mean, Greg is Mr. Wagner. You want a Wagner enthusiast, Greg is your man. But Greg, if you want a pipe organ enthusiast, Armando is. I still have those Sway-Link scores you gave me, those pipe organ scores, and I've arranged some of them for trombone ensembles here in New York.
Wow, I'd like to hear that.
One of the most thrilling moments I had musically was sitting in Notre Dame, Paris, in about 16 years ago. And it was 16 years ago in January. Actually, it'll be it was 2004, so it'd be 15 years ago, I think. And was sitting in the cathedral during an organ concert in Notre Dame, and having some great organist from Europe with the privilege of performing at the cathedral.
Do you know his name?
No, but I don't remember it. But they were famous. And I looked them up on the internet after I got back home, I think, and we had a program or something. And I was extremely. We had just arrived in Paris that morning, and we were only there 3 nights, and it was a trip. It was a very quick trip, but it was quite. And I was falling asleep during the cathedral, but the sound of the sound of the pipe organ just. Reverberating through the cathedral and then washing through your body. That was an extraordinary experience.
Yeah, you could feel it in your belly too.
You could feel it.
The bass, yeah.
Yeah. It was
well, Greg and I had a good opportunity to premiere a band work this was in Arizona. Remember this when we were in college, Greg? Canticles of Our God.
That's right.
This was a piece written by the composer was help me, Greg.
Claude Smith.
Canticles.
Claude Smith. Yeah, it was called Canticles Near to My God or something like that. And Claude T. Smith.
I'm pretty sure it was him.
And he wrote the piece. He conducted the piece.
He conducted it, yeah.
And it was the our wind ensemble with the pipe organ.
And we also did on that same concert, I believe, we did the Saint-Saëns Symphony number 3, the organ symphony.
Right, the organ symphony.
Finale from it with John Painter from Northwestern University.
Yes. Oh, it was wonderful. And that pipe organ was just fantastic. I just remember the concert, the canticles, because I made a mistake.
Oh.
And because... Okay, Armand, you'll appreciate. You know how they have the low B flat foot, right? You have your pedal foot, and on the left foot, you go down to the low B flat, and you press the octave on the low keyboard, B flats, and there's a piece in the song's going, and there's a break, and the conductor goes like this, and goes, and it's supposed to be this, and the band comes in, right? But with the pedal foots and the low B flat, the tubas, contrabass, and the bass trombone, bass clarinets, I'm the bass trombone, and all of us would come in together with the organ, except I came in just this much too early. So when you listen to the recording, you hear like this farting trombone. That's me, and then the rest of and that was me. And I just remember, our director Doc, because he wasn't conducting it, but he was just sitting there, and just his eyes went. And that was the concert. I think I told this to Greg privately, but that's the concert that convinced me that I need to wear these all the time.
Right.
Yeah, you used to not do that.
No, I never. I would wear the glasses.
You would not wear. You never wore glasses.
Never wore glasses. I was like, yeah, hello everybody. And then that concert convinced me that I needed to wear these all the time. So, but it's a pipe organ that I remember, because sitting there feeling that it's kind of.
I think this conversation here is a unique conversation because Armand, you lived in Japan basically continuously since 1986.
That's right. Since I was 19.
And so it's really changed. I mean, we've had a whole life. You've had a whole lifetime here, really.
Right.
And Mark and I, first time we came to Japan was 1983. And then I can tell you that it's changed. It's changed for me. It's changed somewhat since we actually quite a bit, really.
Well, you had a big change when you went from Niigata to Okazaki, the Nagoya area.
Yeah.
Armand has been to all the big cities, Tokyo, Osaka. You've been, so. Well, let's get back to that. You said one of your things you like to do when there's no pandemic is you like to travel around Japan. Well, what would you recommend for us, for Greg and I?
We have friends in America who would love to come to Japan.
It depends on what you want to see. But what do you want to see?
Yeah, for me, I don't care about my friends in America. I only care about what Greg and I were here. So now, and Armand, you know me. I've been here, almost 30 years now, and I've traveled all of Honshu. I've never been to Hokkaido or Okinawa, but I've done pretty much everywhere else. But is there a kind of a hidden gem that you know me? Where would you recommend that? Mark, you need to go see this.
I don't know what you've seen in the States before. Depending on something what you've seen in the States, you may have not. Have you ever been in a large limestone cave?
I've been in caves in central Illinois and Missouri, but I've never gone in.
You've been all over the world,
Yeah, but not the large limestones. I've been to some of the caves in Arizona that they have the big, the stalactite, stalagmite kind of things. But but is there some place like that in Japan?
Yamaguchi.
Wait a minute, I'm making a memo here. Yamaguchi.
I can't remember exactly what the name of the place is,
but if I look up Yamaguchi,
Yamaguchi Caves, it's it. You'll find it right away. So it's only one big. There's a major place to go that everybody goes to.
Cool.
And the best time to go is in the summer when it's really hot, because you will appreciate it.
Yeah, because the caves
so cool inside the cave. When you're standing outside, you're melting. And then you go to the elevator to get down to the cave, and the cool breeze is coming from
that's great.
Into this cave, and while you're down there, it's really cool, and there's a lot of tunnels and things to see.
I like that. Yeah, I like
formations to see, and it's really neat.
Okay. Woo. Now, how about for Greg? Now, Greg, you've been to Tokyo a bit, but you haven't traveled enough yet around Japan.
No. I only started driving in Japan only 3.5 years ago.
Here we go. Boom. Come on.
I got my license. I got my license in Niigata right before I moved down.
Maybe since you've driven in Niigata, you might already know this, but Mark and I went to Sado Island and went around the island in 2 days and saw all the different types of scenery. If you haven't done that, you can take the car ferry to Sado.
I did take the jet foil.
That's
and August 4th.
Take a car.
August 4th, 2000. About 5 or 6 years ago, on August 4th, I went to Sado.
But you got to drive it.
I went for a day trip.
And Mark can tell you that the driving is there's so many different types of geographical features that you can see in different types of,
where, for example, over by the gold mine,
right?
You can see where the mountains are like split in half, and where they've mined the ore in the mountains.
Right.
That's quite an interesting feature.
Kind of talking about around the coast.
Yeah,
and the coast on the northwest part of the coast is I took a bus ride.
Well, then you know about it already.
Yeah, and I took a bus ride to that rocky park. It's a national park.
Well, let me give you a different one then. Okay, this is a different one. I don't know if you've been to Nagano and Gunma by car. You drive to Karuizawa, and then from Karuizawa you drive to Gunma, going back to Niigata, or back to Tokyo, wherever it is you're going to go. But the point is to go from Karuizawa to Gunma, and the height of the Nagano is like a kilometer high, the land, and then you slowly go down to the level of Gunma, which is lower, and the mountains and cliffs and so on are really interesting to see.
Yeah, that's a special road they have there, a toll road that goes from Karuizawa to Gunma. Yeah, I've been on that. That's nice. But how about the volcanoes? What's the volcano that in
which one?
Yeah, crap. Yeah, I knew you would say
where. What? I'm sorry. Which?
In Nagano, along the border of Nagano, Gunma. They
Ontake? Is it Ontake? Or I don't know.
But there's a volcano that you can an active volcano area where you can drive up and you can walk around in the sulfur areas and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of cool. But you have to drive. You can take a bus there, but man, that'd be a haul. But driving, Greg, that'd be great. You can drive up there and.
Well, what you could do is you could rent a car in Karuizawa and drive it to Gunma and drop it off and then go home by wherever you go.
But yeah, ooh.
What I am amazed with is there's always somewhere to go here in Japan, in this tiny little country, really. I mean, it's actually not as tiny as you would think it is, because it would take me several hours just to drive to where you're at. I think, Armand, it would take me.
It would. I've been where you live. Yeah.
And so it'd take me some time. I
took the ferry to where you lived before.
Yeah,
from Ise. I went to Nagoya, and then I went down to the peninsula that you live on, and then I took the ferry across to Mie.
I would love to do that someday.
Yeah.
That's in your neighborhood, Greg. That'd be perfect.
We had talked about taking the ferry.
Yeah, you can go from Mie down to Ise and look at the shrine.
Yeah, the famous shrine, one of the most famous, if not the most famous shrine in Japan, really.
Right.
With
and they rebuild the entire shrine every so many years completely from wood.
Yeah,
they just tear it down and rebuild it.
They have the second one that they're getting ready to rebuild while this first one is standing. You're not supposed to take pictures of it either.
Yeah, rotating shrine.
I know. Supposed to take pictures of it.
How many do you have? Write this down. Write down.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know nothing.
I know nothing. Nothing.
On the Atsumi Peninsula, which is Irago, there's a place called Irago, and my family goes there and stays at a resort. We've done that 2 or 3 times, and you have a great view of the bay, that the I don't know if they call it, if it's Mikawa Bay or what or
Right.
what the bay is, but it's a big, huge bay, and it's a bay that comes in from the Pacific Ocean, and there's several bays there or whatever. But then you're making your way up to the north towards Nagoya, and but it's pretty spectacular down there, and it's a nice place to relax.
Yeah, the Pacific side.
And then there's
no gray skies and no constant snow and rain.
Yes.
Well, although except for today, I mean, we have the
occasionally.
Occasionally, and we had about that much snow 2 weeks ago, and then the previous time was 3 years ago. So it hasn't snowed during the past winters, and we'd get 2 or 3 years ago we got snow, and we also got arare, but this year we had snow, and then today we had snow flurries, and it's still possible right now even.
Yeah, lucky you guys. Okay.
Not me. I'm not going to get any snow.
But I can tell you that there's a lot of places that I would love to visit, and I'd love to drive to in my car. And, I'd love to go see in Japan.
But pandemic.
But they even have a ferry that goes from Nagoya to Hokkaido.
That's a good idea, because if you have a car when you go. I've been to Hokkaido 3 times, I think, 4 times. If you go if you rent a car or you have a car, it's much easier to get around, because the train, depending on the further you go away from the city, the less often the trains come.
Yeah.
So
it's
you don't, in that case, you might not want to go in the winter, because you might get, the roads might be closed and so on. I don't know.
Yeah. Last thing I want to do is go to the north part of Japan in the winter.
Yeah.
I think
I went to Otaru, and they have really nice glassware. And they have these glass lanterns in the front of the train station. It's famous for glassware. And also they have what used to be a fish market. It's a huge building, and now it's a beer hall. And it's right in the middle of a kind of a old style shopping area for tourists. Lots of different souvenirs and so on that you can buy. It's right in that neighborhood.
I'd like to visit Hakodate on the southern part of Hokkaido.
I haven't been to Hakodate yet.
Yeah,
it's a good place.
I'd like to ride the Shinkansen across the strait.
I think it's a tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
A tunnel. Yeah, I hope we don't ride across the Shinkansen skimming the
that'd be kind of cool. Water.
Wasn't that was it Polar Express, right?
No, but that tunnel, they built it, and they opened the Shinkansen, and they said that the tunnel was designed only. No, I think they used the freight tunnel that was currently there, and then so you could only travel at the cruising speed or the slow speed of the Shinkansen about 120, 130, 140 kilometers an hour maximum, rather than the full speed of a Shinkansen, because of the fact that the tunnels weren't built to withstand the high speed of the Shinkansen.
Right.
But you mean like the sonic boom or the pressure?
The pressure, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because it creates quite a wake.
Is that why worms don't move quickly under soil?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know.
I'm sorry about my camera getting dark, and so it's the light from outside is
the clouds coming in and out.
Well, as you can see, I have sunlight coming in my room here, and it's it's a rare moment where the sun's shining.
As you can see, I'm still gray. Anyway,
at least you're not blue. Well, you're wearing a blue shirt.
Yeah, I'm blue. Am I blue? Okay, now let's break out another thing. So, and one more important thing, and I want to get into this conversation.
Yes.
Since Armand, you have lived here for so long, what is your kokuseki? What is your citizenship?
I am Japanese.
He's Japanese. So, ladies and gentlemen, he has made the conversion. controversial. He has I
made the change.
Change to the Japanese. Made the change. He had an operation, and he's now Japanese.
That's right.
You've taken Japanese.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm turning Japanese.
Japanese.
You really think so?
So with that, I guess you have full rights and privileges where you can
I'm
vote.
a Japanese citizen, just like everybody else, except I look different. I look different, but
really,
yeah,
you kind of look Japanese.
No, I don't think it.
Yeah. So okay, let's get the brass tacks here. Why did you do it?
Why? Well, you said several times that I've been here most of my life, so it's kind of odd that I stay a foreigner in a country that is
adopted.
Basically, yes, and so it's a disadvantage for me to remain a foreigner after living here for most of my life and having no assets or anything in America. So, and I can't even, as a foreigner, as you know, you have no voting rights or anything like that.
Right.
And also you have to pay. America is one of the few countries that requires that you file taxes even though you live abroad. And that's a minor nuisance, I guess. But also they want to know what your bank is doing, and the banks don't like that. So I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not.
And then,
it's just. I mean, I live here. I've been here. This is home. So,
why not?
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Well, and I tend to agree because I was discussing this with Greg before, and a little bit, I've always saying I enjoy being American, and doing things, but your point, of living here for so long, says, yeah, why not? Why not just, except, was the process difficult though? I mean, is it something?
It is less difficult than it is test of endurance.
How long did it take?
It took a year from when I really got going. I was starting slowly on my own, trying to get the paperwork. I went to the Ministry of Justice, the local ministry office near where I lived at the time, and got all the information and tried to put the papers together. You can do it on your own, but they're very specific, and often you bring the things to them and say, well, this is not right. This is not right.
Yep.
They can't tell you. I mean, they're not holding it from you, but it's hard to really tell you how to do it perfectly the first time. And not only that, but
like the driver's test.
Driver's test, or even renewing your visa. It's if you're not quite sure what's going on, it's always best to have. In that case, I had a Japanese with me, but
Well, I mean, my recommendation is if you're going to do this, there are some. I don't know if they're what their exact job description is. Some kind of legal. I'm not sure if they're lawyers or what, but they're in bigger cities. Probably not in Niigata, but I don't know. I learned about this after coming to Osaka, but there are people who there are enough foreign residents or foreign-born, Japanese-born foreign citizenship people here that they can make a living helping them get Japanese citizenship. That's all they do. So they know all of the little quirks and everything, and exactly know the people at the ministry office and so on. They know what they expect, and it costs some money. It's negotiable in some cases, depending on how much you've done by yourself. But you find someone like that whose job is to do that, and you talk to them, and they help you out, and so they advise you. You should do this. You shouldn't do this. This is what to expect. And so it was much faster and much easier after I stopped trying to do it by myself and went and asked someone like that. Cost a little money, but
so the process.
Talking about costs a lot of money, though.
Yeah, well,
it costs me more money than hiring the legal professional costs less money than paying the penalty fee. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, the administrative fee to renounce my U.S. citizenship, which you have to do according to Japanese law. The U.S. government wants about $2,300.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, that's right. You do have to
it's
pay
kind of,
those.
which is, and since I work with the embassy, a little bit myself here, and it's like, man, I find that hard to believe that you have to pay the U.S. government to get out of the U.S. government. So
Right.
it's like I'm.
And they told me, I said, I want to. There's a renouncement and something else. What is it? You renounce the citizenship, or you relinquish the
Relinquish,
citizenship.
yeah.
And I was, didn't want to be. I'm not. My purpose is not to cause conflict, so I just wanted to relinquish, which means
right.
give it back. Okay, I don't need it anymore. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But the consulate office in Osaka told me, the American person in charge, obviously, told me, you should renounce. And I said, why? And he said, because with relinquish, they can choose to not approve your request if they want to.
Wow. Let me write that down. Okay.
In other words, the United States government could choose that.
Can say you can't be a Japanese
they could
citizen.
say no. No, they can't stop you from being a Japanese citizen. You become a Japanese citizen first, and under the Japanese law, they don't recognize they don't permit dual citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what country your other citizenship is, the Japanese government wants you within 2 years to rid yourself of that other citizenship.
Mm.
Otherwise, they probably don't enforce it so much, but they could take your Japanese citizenship away from you for not following that. If it really came down to it. So I'm not going to risk that. So I had to go and relinquish my U.S. citizenship, and that's what the U.S. consulate told me to renounce.
You should renounce. That way, it would be emphatic.
Then they would no. Then the State Department, whoever it is that takes the request, cannot tell you no. And the U.S. doesn't mind if you have dual citizens. They're still going to tax you and so on, but the Japanese government the law is that you can't have two.
Have you traveled back since you've?
Yes, on a business trip I have.
So you just used your
on a Japanese
passport.
That's right.
How was it?
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened, right?
They kind of gave me a funny look, but nothing was, nothing happened at all. So it's got a problem.
Well, something to think about. Something for me. Yeah.
You have Japan has a treaty with the U.S. that you can stay there for 90 days. It is
right. That's still active,
without a visa. So it's not, there's nothing. You don't look Japanese. It's not really something that
that's
the
racial
customs. Right.
That's racial profiling.
Something they're not going to say to you.
Yeah.
So they didn't say really anything. Just kind of looked at me for a second, but that was it. I didn't get out without any problems.
So now, when you applied for the application, did you have to make a Japanese name that you were going to take?
After you, yes, when you get to the final part of it, you have to make a Japanese family register. So they need to know your parents, your siblings, and also whether or not you had some kind of proof from one of your living parents that you have no other siblings, because we don't have family registers in the U.S.
Right.
So they only have a birth certificate. So there's no way to prove that you don't have other brothers and sisters that you're not reporting, except by some kind of affidavit. Anyway, getting off track. So what was the question? No.
So if I put gasoline in a hybrid car, will it blow up?
Okay. No, hybrid cars are meant to take gasoline.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I was putting sake
confused
in mine. So,
Okay.
no. So did you have to? Did you have to create a Japanese name?
Yes, you have to create. It doesn't have to be a Japanese name. You can
Okay.
write your name in katakana, as long as it's not Roman letters. It's got to be in katakana, hiragana, or kanji that are approved names for names. There's a list of names, the kanji that are approved. Any combination of that you can use. I know people who, or at least one person who was on the list with me, and some other people I've heard of who have a katakana name, hiragana, all hiragana names, so that it doesn't have to be Yamada Taro or something like that. It can be anything that you want.
Wait a minute, I've seen that guy before.
Really?
His name's on everything.
So you could be, you could use your current name and just write it in katakana if you wanted to keep that. That's perfectly fine.
Oh, okay. But then I would have to lose my middle name.
There is no middle name in Japanese, but if you wish to keep it, you could put your first name as a long name and merge the two into one name. Of course, every time they,
That's what I did.
You're
I
Japanese?
mean, not for the citizenship, but on my visa, on my what do you call it, the alien registration card. That's what I do.
Well, you have to put your full name on the alien registration.
That's in Roman letters. But I'm talking about when if you wanted to use your katakana, katakana is one of the Japanese scripts, right, for writing foreign words. If you want to use the name that you usually go by, which I assume is in that script, as your real name, then you'd have your last name is one name, and you could, if you wanted to keep your middle name, you put your first and middle.
So then basically
one name.
My name would be Marin, would be the family name, and then the myoji, the given name would be Mark Anthony.
Right, exactly.
Mark Anthony. That sounds stupid.
Well, but you know,
sounds Roman.
Yeah, it's not stupid because it's your name. But I mean,
so how does it work for you now as a Japanese citizen, a citizen of Japan? Do you go by your family name?
I don't use my only name. I have no American citizenship, so I use the same. It's exactly the same as any Japanese person. So family name in informal
family name
situations.
first, and then your given name second.
Right. When I talk to friends, they call me by my
Suhara-san.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. No, they don't call you by your first name,
unless it's a friend. Yeah, they can call me by my first name. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You don't have dude in your kanji?
No.
Man, that would be cool. How would a dude?
I think but yourself, dude is your last name if you
want. I'll just put San Marco.
That's a good idea.
Anyway, but
you can be dude San Marco.
Dude San Marco. Greg, you should be Gregorio. See, that's what I mean. Gregorio.
Yeah, it would work in Japanese.
Gregorio. Yeah, that'd be cool. Anyway,
you leave a lot of kanji for that.
Yeah, you can have 4 kanji.
My original name is my original name is not Armando. It's Armand. So, but my father's name on his birth certificate, nobody called him that, was Armando in Spanish, and without the U that I have. But the U is just to turn it into Japanese name. So that's why I chose to use my father's name, which is what he gave me anyway. And I could write it in 3 Chinese characters, so that was good enough. And nobody can read it. Yes, nobody can read it, but if I explain it, then okay. In fact, the last name that I use is actually a real Japanese name, but it's very rare. I wanted it to be something that I don't have to explain every time, like my original family.
Do Japanese have? Do you ever have?
It's still a little.
It's easily readable.
Not easy. It's not easy because it's rare. So I still have to explain a little bit, but not as bad as when I was, using my original name.
Kind of like some Japanese wouldn't know the reading for shibatashi in Niigata.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah.
Or it'd have to be, not many people expect Suhara. They expect
Sui.
there's something else other than Su in the beginning. And so
like
Sugihara on the telephone, they Sugihara, yeah, no. And I have to explain because on the telephone it's hard to hear S sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like something else. I have to say it really carefully. And then they ask me how to write it, and I have to the first Chinese character I have to explain how to, the parts of it.
Right.
And then
right.
they know and then they know what it is.
That makes sense. Sense. Well, that's cool. And so and then how is it voting? Okay, I mean, that sounds kind of silly, but you've voted.
I voted a few times. Sometimes I had to miss it because of work. But
well, what's the process here? Is there any difference as opposed to the States?
I voted once in the States when I was a kid, when I became old enough, and it's pretty much the same. I've only voted once. It wasn't a presidential election either. So you go to the polling place, you show some ID, the
card or the registration,
where you live and who you are and stuff like that, and then you go into a little booth and you write it on paper. It depends on how big the place is. I wrote a circle on a piece of paper, a list of the candidates, and you put it in a little box. That's it.
So you are now a citizen, or have you been a citizen of Japan for quite some time now?
Since 2015.
Oh, not too long ago, actually.
No. I could have. I was told by the lawyer person. I don't know if he's a lawyer, but I was told by him that I could have gotten citizenship at the same time that I applied for permanent residency. Because instead of permanent residency, because I had fulfilled the requirements. You only have to, the longest, even if you're not married to a Japanese, it's like 10 years of residency, and you have to be able to support yourself, blah, blah, blah. And I had met those requirements in order to get permanent residency, but I would also meet the requirements for citizenship. And I'm like, I could have done that a long time ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. But because of where I was living in Niigata, there weren't any of those professionals, so I couldn't really ask anybody.
Huh. That's good to know. So that's good to know, Greg.
It's not as hard as you think it is. The horror stories about, they do come to your house. They do want to talk to a neighbor. And they don't look in your refrigerator. They don't go.
I never look at
your house. Somebody on TV said that. I think it's the soccer player, Ramos Luis.
Oh, Ramos?
They came they looked at my refrigerator. Maybe they did for him, but they didn't for me. They came to my house and they looked around to see. They want to see if you're really who you say you are, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not not pulling a scam or something. And
they do in the States. They check.
I know that the immigration does do that even for permanent residency, for a green card for foreigners in America. Yep. They actually they do pay a visit there.
You can choose at least I was able to choose who in the neighborhood I ask to meet with the representative from the Ministry of Justice office. They don't just go randomly knock on somebody's door, which would probably aggravate the person who they did that and give you a bad, recommendation. But if you say, okay, well, ask the person ahead of time, they have to come by and talk to somebody. Is it okay if you talk to them for them? Sure. Okay. And then they just ask, how have you been acting up until now in the neighborhood? And if you haven't done anything to aggravate anybody, then.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Nice. Well, I mean, crap, I should put my trombone away then. Because I know there's one neighbor over here that's like, you knock on the door and, he's always playing that shit. Oop, I said the shit word.
He said it twice.
Twice. I said crap. Oop, crap's okay. Cool. And so being a citizen has been smooth. No problems for you. moving,
no more, nothing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
no visas, none of that stuff. Even
Which
if you're
was my
permanent
question.
residents, well, yeah, if you're permanent resident, you don't have to renew or anything like that. But obviously, if you're a Japanese citizen,
you just have to
obviously,
renew your passport when it comes time.
if you want to travel,
If you, yeah.
As a Japanese citizen, do you have to have some form of identification that says you're a citizen other than your passport?
Actually,
We had
no,
the
because
alien registration card.
right, and if you don't have your alien, I was actually stopped in Narita airport once. I wasn't going to get on a plane, so I didn't bring my registration card. They took me to the police office and called my wife and said, "What's his registration number?" And if I didn't have that, I would have been in trouble. But now, if I forget if you have your driver's license with you, or even your My Number card or whatever, like a Social Security card in the States.
Mm-hmm.
If you have either one of those, you're fine. Or if you forget it, you just walk around the neighborhood and the police, for some reason, ask you to show ID and say, "Well, I don't have any." Why? Well, I'm Japanese. Well, what all they have to do is take you to the police station or the city hall and look you up, and okay, you're Japanese. Sorry, and that's it. Because you're not required to walk around with ID unless unless you're going to use the ID for something.
As a Japanese citizen,
right? So I mean, just what about in the States? If you walk down the street without ID, and a cop stops you in the States, are you going to go get a ticket or something?
Well, that go no, you don't get a ticket for that, but it gets into
warning.
It gets into racial profiling. Then crap.
Other than that,
no, there's absolutely no reason for them to do unless you're doing something wrong or they're profiling you. So
right, and if they want to see some ID, then okay, what's in the house and.
Well, let me go to just one little more step.
Yes.
Have you been profiled by
no.
Walking down the street where they see
never people would. I had a friend a former friend, unfortunately, who often got stopped by the police when he was using his own bicycle, and he'd stop him. So, is that your bike? And yes, it is, and show him the registration. They would constantly stop him to see if he was stealing his bicycles, and he would complain about that to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I never had that happen to me, even when I wasn't a Japanese citizen, and I haven't had it, since. No kind of profiling or any kind of thing like that at all.
Yeah, see, I still get stopped or asked questions. I was stopped a few months ago in Fudomachi in Niigata, because I was going to work, and the policeman, showed me, he pulls the, see my hand, pulls his badge out, and he just wants to, to see what are you doing? He says, I'm going to work here, and I've
never had that happen, except like I said, when I went to the airport and I was going to pick up somebody, and I forgot my card.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I just had to pick somebody up, and they said, "Oh no, here's the."
I've had it happen, and it's all been in Niigata though, because when I lived in the Kansai, it never happened.
Even when I lived in Niigata, I never had that happen.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't work in the dodgy parts where I work. That's why.
maybe you look more dangerous.
Yeah, and I am. I gotta admit it. All those cars I wreck.
Right. Yeah. Need for speed.
As a speaker of as a person, Arumando, I started learning Japanese in 1983, and I went to university. It was when Mark and I came back from Japan. I said, "Hey, I'm going to become a translator, and I'm going to move to Japan." And then I did change my music major from music to linguistics, and that was short time after that. But I studied Japanese for about a year and a half in a class at the university, and then my teacher passed away. And she was young. She was from Japan. She was relatively young at the time. She was in her 40s, and her husband was a linguistics professor. And she was part of the department, and she was great. And so she died, and I stopped studying Japanese. And but how long did you feel before you started? Do you feel comfortable with the Japanese language?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, I
how
don't
long did
have
it
to
take?
think. I don't, and except when I can't remember a word, but I can't. That happens to me even in English.
Yeah.
I don't get frustrated when I have to uh, speak or even to some extent even argue in Japanese. I can do that.
So if you're relatively young, did you just completely immerse yourself? Is that how you did it, or?
Well, I don't know, but I tried to use it as much as possible. I mean, when I was in the army, I would a lot of people in the army, they got a cost of living adjustment, some extra pay because the Japanese exchange rate was actually now is incredibly favorable, but to
Right.
them it wasn't 360 to the dollar, so it was like 120, and so they
When
were
Mark
like,
and I
"Oh,
came
it's
to Japan,
terrible."
it was 200 to the dollar.
Right, it was terrible. So they got a cost of living, and they'd save that and never go outside of the base except to go to another base, and so those people would stay in their little American bubbles, and I would, whenever the weekend came by, I would leave and go with a little dictionary in my pocket and go try to use Japanese and do things. But I really learned a lot after, I learned from talking to people and I learned a lot of writing and stuff from school, but I learned talking just by talking. I mean, I think it's most of it is just getting used to using it, and like riding a bicycle or learning an instrument.
Mm.
Having being the first of all of us to really study Japanese, I studied it, but then I never realized until I was talking with Mark, um, and then I studied at Air, at the Japanese program at Air. I did the year and a half program in Niigata, and I says, Mark said that contextual use of Japanese was the best way to really, what do I need to use every day to communicate? What is what in what
Right.
the context of the language.
And you have different, well, now we're using linguistic terminology, registers, different social uh, settings in which you use different types of Japanese, or even in English. You have the language you use with your friends, with your uh, partner, wife, or husband, or whoever, and then the family, and then the language that you use in a business or academic or whatever setting, work setting. And if you only know the friendly family Japanese and you go to the work setting, you sound like a child. So you have to know the work Japanese, and you have to be able, especially if you spend your time reading these all of the different rules and things that the regulations, and you write email to keep up with all of the stuff that's going on. It's just getting used to it, and you learn the set idioms, and you can use these idioms to communicate appropriately, not perfectly. I'm not
I will
perfect.
say that from what I remember is that textbooks and books on Japanese language have changed dramatically in the past 40 years.
Well, the English
It's
textbooks have too, I think. So it's a similar, more
Yeah,
focus on communication.
I can remember I started collecting Japanese language books, or when I'm seeing like grammar, books on grammar and things like that, in 1983, and they're dramatically different from what they are
You were
today.
very lucky to be able to study Japanese in the 83. When I started to become interested in Japan, I was in high school. It was about 83. And there was nothing. No, there weren't even any Japanese people. There was one Japanese person who was the mother of one of the students that I went to school with, who was half Japanese, and she would give me a little bit of a Japanese lesson or something.
In
Teach me,
Louisiana.
yes. And
Yeah.
there were no courses in high school, not even in college. There was nothing, no exchange program, not anything, and that's why I quit after a year of college in the States to join the army to come to Japan because there was no other way to study in Japan.
So did
from
you have
from that area because there was no contact.
Right.
Is that basically why you joined the military to come
That's
to Japan?
exactly why I joined the military.
Because you had an interest in coming to Japan.
I wanted to study in Japan, but I didn't have the money to even pay for the plane ticket. I was accepted to a university, but I didn't. They said scholarships are from year 2. What am I going to do? I don't have any money to pay for for the tuition or for neither the tuition nor the airfare. And then I have to somehow find a place to live and pay for that. So that I have nothing. There's no way.
I can remember that.
Dropping out of college after 1 year, you can't work. You can't save that kind of money in a reasonable amount of time working at the drugstore. As a register clerk. So there's just nothing I could have done. Give up.
So that was when? What year was that for you?
85.
85. So, yeah. See, that's nuts, man. Both you and Greg, you had a desire to come here, and Greg, after the 83 tour, had that desire. He changed his major and everything. He had a desire to come to Japan, and it's kind of cool because I just came to Japan because I needed a job. I mean,
well, you had I don't know where were you living, Greg, when you just studying Japanese? I mean,
it's in Fresno, California.
Well, you see, California, you have a large amount of Japanese people, connections to the Pacific. I mean, it's a Pacific, rim and everything. So you can
I can
have these opportunities.
Yeah, and so I was able to spend. I changed my mind about majoring in linguistics because it was nothing compared to music, and I want to have a passion. I wouldn't have had a passion for linguistics. I had an interest in learning Japanese, but a strong interest, but I don't think I had the discipline. But then I went back to music, and I taught music for 20 years in California. But I'd have places to go that I could occasionally use my my limited Japanese knowledge in Los Angeles, Little Tokyo, and San Francisco.
None of that in Louisiana.
San Francisco,
nothing. Especially not in the 1980s. Nothing.
San Francisco had a Japantown, and I remember
all that opportunity you had.
I remember I bought a CD. One of my first compact discs ever in 1984 was of Seiko-chan, and
Matsuda Seiko.
She was big then, and she's on Kohaku every year.
Right.
And
sorry, I'm sorry. I it felt like a centipede went down my spine.
I thought she was the cutest thing. I thought she was the best thing next to. I thought she was adorable, and I wanted to marry her.
You're not too bad.
You still can probably
get in line. Get in line.
But I bought one of her CDs, and it was like $30. It was extraordinarily expensive.
At least you had CDs. I had to buy because I was lucky to get a set of cassettes to learn Japanese pronunciation, and maybe a couple of books, and that was the extent of what I could find.
Well, the first CD player we saw was on our trip in 1983 in Akihabara, and it was I think it was something like upwards of $2,000, so Nijumayan.
Right.
And it was extraordinarily expensive. Then next year it came out in America, and it became just dropped in price because that was the technology that they had adopted. But that was quite an experience. And I bought a Sony Walkman. It was an electronic device. I spent Nimayan in Tokyo, and I'd saved for it. And I saw this. You press a button, it goes. It was just amazing. It was when Walkman.
It went.
Oh, it was great. It was like you touched the button and it was electronic. It had these motors in it. And it was
Greg, you love those toys, man.
Yeah, I love these gadgets. And so
Anyway, well, this has been this. We're going way over time because I have to edit this back down. But I want to say thank you,
I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you,
dude. Thank you so much, and probably we'll bring you back on for another episode, and we'll talk.
Yeah, if I'm not too annoying, please do so.
Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll the next one we'll talk about politics.
Uh-oh.
Probably not,
Uh-oh.
but
maybe not a good idea.
Maybe not a good idea. No, we're going to try to avoid that anyway. But thanks so much, and it's really great. It's great to have you on here, Greg. Thanks as usual. Minasan arigatou gozaimasu.
Yeah, Musings from Japan, number 21.
21. I always sorry, I don't want to get into anyway. Question I always put on in a quiz in my classroom is what, when you go to Starbucks and you order a venti, what does venti mean?
Oh, okay.
And they say large. No, it means 20. Because there used to be 20 ounces. Anyway, there it is. Okay. Hey, on a Starbucks question. Thank you very much, everyone. And everyone will wave goodbye. Okay, ciao. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.